These UFOs are out here, man, and I want to find them.
Perhaps no one spends as much time on skyward mysteries as Jeff Woolwine.
But when these lights come on, it's like somebody with a switch on a wall. Boop. Here we are.
Woolwine's tours are free too, and you're free to believe or not.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this. I think he's as honest as the day is long.
He describes his guests as top-notch, credible, and says Woolwine is one of the good guys.
Whether you believe in UFOs or not, there is something here. And they were here a long time ago. And their sightings is recorded on the mountain.
Hello, welcome back to another Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, ultimate UFO show. How is everybody doing today, tonight, wherever you're watching us, live right here on Facebook. Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. How's everybody doing? I am your host, Jeff Woolwine. Glad you guys are here with us today. Have a great show as always. The only place where we talk about the Phoenix Lights and the rock art connection and Phoenix, Arizona's true history. Not the history that the archaeologist talks about. No, ladies and gentlemen. The real history of what I dug up that has been buried for the last 80 years in the public Phoenix Library downtown, Burton Bar Library in the Arizona room, 4th floor. Go up there, check it out for yourself. Go up there and ask the secretary to see everything you have on the files of South Mountain in the Phoenix Metropolitan District. You will receive a folder. Open that folder and it talks about everything that I've been talking about for the last, 17 years? Yes, it's been a long journey, continuing journey of getting this true information out on what the Phoenix Lights truly is, not hearsay, not somebody coming in from another state, trying to sell a book, trying to sell a movie, trying to make money, exploit the lights, but actually from someone who has been in the field, who has done their research, who has done their homework on South Mountain, who has done their homework on the petroglyphs around the Valley of the Sun, who has successfully matched these rock art carvings to the Phoenix Lights and the UFOs that we see in the skies of Phoenix today, and possibly your neck of the woods also. This isn't anything that, it's not just my opinion here. It's this type of information has always been with us. It's always been here. It's just, it's been covered up for the last 80 years. It's been tucked away in the Burton Bar Phoenix Library for 80 years now. In a file on the 4th floor. Check it out. And what the Native Americans have been saying this whole time, right? With their stories and their legends and petroglyph carvings and dance attire and everything, man, everything. All this information has always been with us. Whether it comes from biblical scrolls to Sumerian texts to Anunnaki texts. I mean, come on, people. Let's look at the evidence here. Let's examine the facts. Let's not look at hearsay. Oh, someone said that something flew over the Valley of the Sun, but we have no photographs of it. We have no evidence of it. Come on now. When are people going to wake up? When are we going to wake up to this? Look, dude, if you're going to come out and make a fantastic claim, you must be able to back it up. And so far, it's been over 20 years since the March 13th, 1997 lights occurred, and not one shred of evidence of anything flying over the city of Phoenix. I'm sorry, I'm a native of Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. I've been seeing these things in the sky ever since I was a kid. I've been playing catch football with my dad out there in the front yard. There's an orb in the sky. I see lights in the sky. I go to my classrooms. I go to my school friends, my school kids' friends. I say, dude, did you see that light last night? So I'm in the 5th grade, yo. I'm in the 5th grade, and I'm talking about these lights in the sky here in Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah, I was born and raised into this. These things have always been in the skies. Way before I was alive, way before you was alive. These things have always been here in our skies. It's nothing new. Nothing new. Matter of fact, these things probably been here a lot longer than we have when you actually look at the evidence. And what does history tell us about these things? It tells a different story on what a lot of these so-called UFO researchers wants us to believe. This is the only place where we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of things. The only place where you're going to find the true history of what these Phoenix lights and these UFOs in the skies really are. From their history, from their past. To understand our future, we must understand our past. To understand what these UFOs really are, we must look at the history of what these beings are. And are they spaceships? Are they crafts? Are they technologically? I can't even say it. Is it nuts and bolts spaceship technology from another world? Where's the evidence of that? Do we see any proof of this? Any evidence of videos or anything? I'm not talking about the CGI stuff, right? I'm not talking about how these other skywatchers or people filming so-called crafts are preying on people's ignorance so they can click on that YouTube channel, click on that YouTube video, and get paid off of people's ignorance. I'm not talking about that shit. I'm talking about what's really going on. I'm talking about facts, stuff we can prove. Not hearsay from someone coming in from another state, right? Preying on people's gullibility. I'm talking about evidence. I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about 20 years of research into these Phoenix lights. Not just hearsay. Not just talking about people. Not talking to people who can't back up what they say. But someone who's been on South Mountain, someone who's been on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona, someone who's called in a Native American shaman to teach them the petroglyphs on the true meanings, someone who's dug in deep into the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona that discovered this information in the Phoenix Lights or in the Phoenix Library government department. That's what it's all about, people. It's not about hearsay. It's about what proving. And I'm telling you, I've been there. I've been in the field. I've hiked all over South Mountain. I've dug up so much information, so much facts. It's just crazy. And to go for like a whole year, right? A whole year, I'm out there on South Mountain. I started this journey back in 2004. I hunted the Phoenix Lights. The Phoenix Lights appeared in the sky before me and moved to South Mountain. I followed these lights to the mountain, to this holy mountain in Phoenix, Arizona, to this sacred mountain. These lights showed me where to go. I followed these lights. I watched these lights in the whole summer of 2004. Then I moved to South Mountain because why? Why did I go to the mountain? Well, for one, the lights are pointing me there. I followed, the lights are telling me where to go. For two, when we look at the history of these beings, when we look at some of what these ancient people has been talking about these beings in the past, what are they always talking about? Where to see these things? Mountains. Mountains are the keys. Mountains are the source. Why? Why some of these mountains? It's because some of these mountains, these holy mountains, and I'm talking about Mount, I can't even say, Jabal out there in Saudi Arabia, the real Mount Sinai, right, was created by fault lines. It was created by a fault line, right? It's energy. It has everything to do with energy. And it's not just Mount Jabal in Saudi Arabia, the true history, the true mountain of Mount Sinai, but all these other mountains around the world that has these Native American carvings on it with these spiral symbols representing doorways to the underworld. And when we look at a scientific analysis of all of this, why these mountains? Well, we've already distinguished that because of the energy. They're attracted to these energy sources. They're attracted to these mountains. The Native Americans say they're going down into that underworld. On a scientific analysis, they're going down into that fault line. They're going down into that energy source. And all these native peoples and all these ancient peoples that we read in texts and history and things like this is all talking about, they build these rock structures oriented towards the east, towards the morning sunrise, equinox, and the solstice. Very sacred. There's so many, celebrations on these equinox and solstice calendar events, celestial events. And why is this? Now, the archaeologists say, well, it's time to plant corn. It's time to start farming again. Why would they build these gigantic structures? It's like, look at Stonehenge. Okay, so you're telling me that these people, or the people who constructed Stonehenge, oriented all this stuff towards the morning sunrise just to remind them that it's time to plant corn. Really? So you're going to make all this big trouble. You're going to haul in these huge stones just to remind us that it's time to farm. It has nothing to do with farm. It has nothing to do with planting corn. These celestial events in the sky, the equinox and the solstice, has been going on since the beginning of time. And these ancient ones has been following the sun. They're sky watchers. They're following the sun. They're tracking the sun. Why? Not to plant corn, but to track these beings in the sky. That's what it's all about, man. They're tracking these things in the sky. That's why the Hohokam Indians, the first people in Phoenix, Arizona, constructed these rocks oriented towards the east, or oriented towards the morning sunrise on the equinox and the solstice. Oriented these rocks towards the summer solstice, or the sunset, excuse me. They're following the sun. They're tracking the sun. Why would they go through all this trouble just to learn that, it's time to farm again? It's time to... No. It has everything to do with these things in the sky. Because that's the pattern. That is the pattern. These equinox and the solstice and the changing of the sun in the sky during the seasons. When the sun aligns with these fault lines on the earth, with these energy sources, with these ley lines, if you will. When the sun aligns with these energy sources, it attracts these beings to these areas. That's why, let's, for instance, in Phoenix, Arizona, right? So we get a mass sighting. We get a lot of sightings during January, February, March, April, May, and June, July, right? We're getting sightings there. But after this solstice, when the sun moves, it's over another energy source. The earth has changed, or the sun has moved in the sky. Days and nights are longer and shorter, depending on what you're looking at. And the sun's somewhere else, aligned with these fault lines. And so now they're not over here in Arizona anymore. They're not over here on the west side of the United States anymore. They're over there in like Maine. They're over there in Florida. They're over there in Russia. They're over there in Jerusalem. They're over there in Paris. They're over there in Saudi Arabia. They're over there by Mount Jebel. And then after that equinox or after that solstice, depending on where you live at, and that's the key. That's the whole key here. So over here in Arizona, you know, the hot spots are January, February, March, April, May, and June, like the spring, right? And then after that, then they kind of go away. Now, we might have a couple visit the valley, but it's not on a regular basis. They're not coming and going from South Mountain. They're coming and going from another mountain. So a lot of people go up on South Mountain and they're like, dude, Jeff, I went up on South Mountain. I didn't see anything in the sky. Well, it's not that simple, folks. Yeah, I learned all of this from my own investigations, through my own sky watching, through my own study of the Phoenix Lights, through my own sky watching, and serious, over many years of watching the skies, of watching South Mountain, and tracking the sun. So I asked them, you know, well, what time did you go? What month did you go? Right? Because that's the key. That's the secret. And I didn't know all this until I actually witnessed it myself. So I'm on the east side of South Mountain in 2005. And in the beginning, January, holy cow, man, these things are there, right? These things are totally at South Mountain. They're coming and going from South Mountain. I mean, it's crazy. Look at the videos. Look at all the stuff I have in that time period. I mean, it's crazy. And then after that equinox, they kind of go away, right? They're kind of gone. And then the solstice comes back and the sun's in a different position now. The sun's over here. And now they're back. And then another changing of the seasons, and then they go away. So that first year, I tracked them. Okay? They were here this month. The next month, they were kind of, that following season, they were kind of gone. The next season, they came back. The next season, they're kind of gone. Right? It was like this little pattern that was forming. The next year, it repeated itself. It was the same thing. And the third year, it was the same thing. That was the clue. That was the secret. That was the tracking of these things. That was the history. That was the key on when to see these things. So you have to understand the sun, for one, on where the sun is at. Then you have to go look for these fault lines. Then you have to go look for these energy sources. And I always tell these people, look, if you're going to go sky watch, if you're going to go UFO hunting, find out the history of where you live at, for one. And see if there's any Indians that say any place around where you live at is sacred, especially a mountain. Go to that mountain, look for petroglyphs. Now, there's tons of petroglyphs on tons of mountains, like all over the world, right? But the things that you really want to look for are spirals. Spirals is the key. Spirals is the clue. Spirals is a symbol for these doorways into the underworld. And shape-shifting looking creatures. Okay, now the archaeologist likes to call them anthropomorphs. Anthropomorphs, shapeshifters. That's what the Native Americans have been saying all along. These spirits are shape-shifting, right? That's what these things do, man. This is not nuts and bolts technology, and I'm open to that. Don't get me wrong. I'm waiting to see some kind of evidence, some kind of proof of spaceships, little gray guys running around. I haven't seen any evidence of that. I'm not saying it's not real. I haven't experienced that yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have seen some things in the sky that could resemble a craft, Hey, I saw a black triangle one time go over South Mountain, disappear in the clouds. It screamed, and its echoes bounced through the valley of those mountains. I heard it. It was a screaming black triangle over South Mountain. Was it a spaceship? I could understand why people could misunderstand that it was a spaceship. But what if it was something else? What if it was a creature in the form of a triangle? What if this isn't technology at all? What if these are living entities, living creatures, shape-shifting entities, shape-shifting beings that absorb the energies, the fault lines? That's why they're there in the first place. That's why they've always been to that valley of the sun. That's why they always go to that mountain. It's because that's where the energy is. They harness this energy. I was living in New York, and I saw these things go over our heads, and it was four silver spheres connected together, looking like jumping jacks. You know, like those jacks that kids play, right? I saw it. Was it a craft? Or was it something else? Was it four living beings connected together, going across the sky, absorbing each other's energy? That's exactly what the Native Americans are talking about. They're talking about shape-shifting creatures, spirits. And, you know, when I was watching these things, you know, because I was misled like everybody else about 1997, March 13th. I mean, I was there. I was there. Like I said, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was there that night. I was outside during the occurrence, during the times when this thing supposedly went over Phoenix, Arizona. And I can tell you I'm a witness to nothing. I can tell you I was out there and nothing flew over the Valley of the Sun because I was out there that night. I didn't see nothing go over city. I don't care how many are these witnesses and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it went from 1,000 witnesses to 2,000 to 500,000 people see this thing, right? Nobody can get a camera. I mean, think about it, right? So we got, on March 13th, we got lights. We got real footage of lights on the west side of South Mountain. They're not moving. They're not going over the city. They're just simple lights on the east side, west side of Phoenix, Arizona, far west of the valley, mind you. Way over there by the Australia Mountains and South Mountain. And did they do a V? No, they did an arc. And yet, 4 people that we know of after 20 years has filmed this this event. These lights over there, 4 people. At least 4 people got that, right? But when something spectacular going over the city of Phoenix, going, you know, that's like what they say, a mile wide and 8 miles an hour, and no one can get a camera? This does not make sense, people. And what? If something doesn't make sense, then it's not credible. Like I said in the beginning, if you're going to make a fantastic claim, you must be able to back it up. And that's what this show is all about. It's not my opinions. Everything that I talk about, everything I present, everything I show, it's not an opinion. It's fact. It's history. It's stuff that's always been here throughout all these years, for thousands and thousands of years. It's just been overlooked or not looked at all or covered up. And that's exactly what happened here in Phoenix, Arizona. The history of Phoenix, Arizona, and the Hohokam people, the first Native Americans who lived in this valley, was covered up. The first park ranger, Charles Holbrook, back in the early 1930s, the very first park ranger, the Native Americans at that time who lived in the Valley of the Sun, who lived in this valley, explained to Charles Holbrook, his name, who the Hohokam people were, what happened to these people, because we don't know what happened to these people. They were conquerors of this valley for 1,000 years. They saw the lights in the sky. They recorded the lights on the rocks. They recorded their sightings on the rocks. They recorded their special events on the rocks for 1,000 years, and then all of a sudden they vanished. They disappeared. Hohokam is a meaning, is a name, is a Pima name for the people who are missing, the people who got taken away. The archaeologists say they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. Well, okay, where'd they go? There's no evidence on where they went at all. They were here for 1,000 years and then simply vanished, dude. They're gone. And this isn't the only tribe that happened. Many tribes at the same time around the world vanished at the same time. All these ancient tribes that we see, these massive structures and stuff that that the archaeologists are still finding today. All these evidence of these past civilizations, but we don't know what happened to them. Clearly, they were spectacular and smart people because they're building these gigantic buildings and had all this secret knowledge in which that we can't even understand to this day. But yet, here they are, here they were, here's the evidence that they were here, and then they were just like vanished. They were like taken away from the earth, never to be seen from again. Same thing here in Phoenix, Arizona. The Hohokam people, the Native Americans, told Charles, look, the Hohokam people is a part of the Mayan people. And this makes sense. Because way back in the day, Arizona was a part of Mexico. Hello. So it's only natural that the Mayans were here, right? Had to have been. I find Mayan art out there on South Mountain all the time. There's Mayan petroglyphs out there on South Mountain. Native Americans tell Charles, look, this is what happened to our people, because the Pimas consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokam people. Matter of fact, the Tohono O'odham tribe, that's really tricky to say, Tohono O'odham tribe consider themselves ancestors too to the Hohokam people. And I mean, looking back at all the history, I really believe that the Tohono O'odham people is part of the Hohokam tribe. The Pima named them, but the Tohono O'odham people is the ones that originally came from the Hohokam people. That's just my opinion. That's where the evidence has taken me. They told Charles, look, man, these people, they were here for 1,000 years. They built all these canal systems. I mean, it wasn't a dried up desert the way it is now. It was a tropical-like landscape. And we can find the evidence of massive waterfalls, dried up now, but back then, massive waterfalls coming down the sides of South Mountain and most of these mountains around the Valley of the Sun. Most of these mountains around Phoenix. There's dried up waterfalls there now. So it wasn't all dried up like this. It wasn't a desolate, dry desert. It was a tropical-like landscape at the time. Something went wrong. Legends say, Native Americans say that because, I find altars out there. I find sacrificing altars out there on South Mountain. Look at my photographs. Look at the proof that I brought. I mean, look, Charles Holbrook talks about it. And I found all this information in the Phoenix Library in this folder. And you can find this right here. Everything I'm talking about right now, you can find all this information from Charles Holbrook on my website. My YouTube channels, all my links on my YouTube channels, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. All my videos has links to my website, okay? Go in there and check out Charles Holbrook. That paper came from the city Phoenix Library. The Burton Bar Library in a folder. It's been covered up for 80 years. I discovered it on accident. And here's what Charles says. All this can be verified. Just check out my website. Look what I'm talking about. He says that, so there was sacrificing here. You can see some of the altars on my website. There's photographs there of the altars and the tombs. So there was sacrifice going on, and they say that for 1,000 years, unto these phoenix lights, unto these gods in the sky. That's why they were totally sacrificing. They were making sure, especially on the equinox and the solstice, they were making sure the sun continued to move in the sky, that the gods were pleased that the sun would continue to move in the sky to keep life going. So they must shed the blood of man down these holy rocks of the mountains. So this was going on for 1,000 years. Until one day, for reasons unknown, the sacrificing stopped. The Native Americans tell Charles writes in his documents that when this stopped, it upsetted the gods. It upsetted these phoenix lights. It pissed off these gods in the sky, these creatures, these UFOs to us. And one day, now some say a meteor came down and took the people away. Other tribes here in Phoenix say, the Tohono people, say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. Came down, raptured them up into the sky, never to return again. This is all in Charles Holbrook's writings. Now, why would Charles Holbrook write all this, right? Now, he's not just some everyday Joe coming in and getting a job and working on South Mountain. No, Charles Holbrook was a very, very respected guy in the Parks and Recreation field. I found evidence of his work not only in Phoenix, Arizona, but in California and Utah and Colorado and New Mexico. So this wasn't some everyday Joe Blow, dude. Charles Holbrook was very, very, very respected in this field. And he writes in his journals. After his death, his son writes about a book about his father, what his father did in his journals. All the stuff that he acquired, all the stuff that he discovered. And it was all taught by the natives. The natives trusted Charles. They're saying, dude, if you're going to, here's what's here. You need to protect this sacred mountain. And it is. It's a holy mountain to this day. South Mountain is a very holy and sacred mountain. Back then, it was called Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy, because all these tribes from all around the nations used to come to this Valley of the Sun, used to gather on South Mountain, formerly known Mount Sepoa, and watch these lights in the sky, and watch these feathered serpents, watch these orbs, watch these flying diamonds and other miracles in the sky. And they treated these beings as gods, because these beings came down and taught these people the secret ways, the secret incantations, secret abilities that man was not meant to know at that time, and still isn't meant to know. You know, a lot of these people you go talk about, you want to try, it's very hard trying to get, a Native American to talk about all this, like the true people that understand what's going on. They know this stuff is like a type of taboo. This is scary stuff, okay? This is why the government will never come out and tell you, they're talking about disclosure and all this crap. No, they're never going to tell you what's really going on here, because their history of these Phoenix Lights, the history of these beings, is a scary one. And it's what brought the downfall of mankind last time mankind interacted with these beings. And so you go try to talk to a true Native American about this, who has been taught from generations upon generations upon generations on what happened to their people. They don't want to talk to you about it, right? It's very hard to get some of this information out. Matter of fact, when I called down this Native American, I saw him on Channel 8, and he actually works at a Native American museum in Phoenix, Arizona. His name is Dave Morris. Go check him out. Pueblo Indian Art Museum. Tell him Jeff Woolwine said hi. I saw him on Channel 8 talking about the petroglyphs. This was in 2004. He was doing a tour up there on South Mountain talking about the glyphs. And one of the guys with him says, hey, right? it looks like this stick figure man is looking up at something in the sky. And Dave Morris turned around and said, yes, that is part of the interpretations here on this mountain, is that our ancestors saw and recorded things in the sky. Wait a minute. Hold the phone, people. What did you just say, dude? What? You're kidding, right? And what is this? 2004. The Phoenix Lights occurred in 97. And no one has even looked into the petroglyphs on the mountain of the Valley of the Sun on some possible answers. Wait a minute. So we have strange markings on the rocks, and we have strange lights in the sky, and no one is even making this type of connection together before? No. Right there, I knew. I was onto something. So in 2005, I'm living on South Mountain and I'm studying the petroglyphs. And I want to get to know more about these glyphs, and I call up Dave. I said, dude, I saw you on TV. Can you go up there and teach me the petroglyphs? Didn't tell him who I was. I mean, I did, but I didn't tell him what I was doing. You know, because since then I was making the news, and I wrote an article for UFO magazine. So my information and my sightings has been getting around Arizona a lot lately. You know, not only Arizona but the world. You know, especially in 2004 when the lights were occurring on the east side of South Mountain. I did a lot of news reports, and the end result was we're all seeing flares, and that's just stupid because these lights are in the sky, right? And we're not going to go into that. But it all started in 2004, my investigations. And then in 2005, you know, I moved to the mountain because all the clues, the lights are moving to the mountain. All the clues, all the history is telling me mountains. I moved to the mountain. Now I'm living in 2005 on the east side of South Mountain, watching these things come and go, going out there and looking on the rocks, on the areas on where these things came down, and I see these petroglyphs, right, and spirals, right? And the glyphs are the exact same thing that I saw days before come from that area over there on South Mountain. So, you know, I called up Dave, you know, and then, you know, now, so in 2004, I'm doing lights. I'm doing, you know, Phoenix Lights news interviews. Now in 2005, I'm connecting the petroglyphs with day sightings now. And no one's ever done that before. It's always been a theory. Oh, we think the Native Americans were carving UFOs on the rocks out here. No one's ever proven it. Until I came around and studied the rock and studied the skies and sat there for many, many years and watched these things come and go. And I verified that these rock carvings are the exact same things that we're seeing in the skies today. Petroglyphs in the sky. And so, yeah, you know, I did a news article for UFO magazine, and you know, I did the pilot for the UFO Hunter show, and then later on in 2007, I did the episode for the UFO Hunter show on the History Channel. You know, blah blah blah. I've done all that. So my name was circling, you know, and so when I finally called up Dave, you know, I was like, dude, I said I'm kind of doing a documentary, right? Didn't exactly tell him what I was really doing because I didn't want to scare him away, you know, because this was important. I was researching the, you know, and what better than get it from a true Native American who understands the petroglyphs, right? And so I didn't want to scare any of that away. So, you know, I told him, you know, who I was, but I didn't really tell him what I was doing. So he goes up there and he teaches me all these petroglyphs on South Mountain, talks about the spirals, how they're symbols for doorways into the underworld, and spirals are going in and spirals are going out, and we talked about the giants, and we talked about the lizard people, and we got into all that stuff, right? We spent like 3 hours up there on South Mountain, and I filmed all of it. I documented all of it. And so when we get back, my whole point is, when we get down off the mountain, that's when I hit him. Because I've already got it on film. I've already got the information. So now it's time to let him know what's up. I said, Dave, are you familiar with the Phoenix Lights? And he goes, oh, yeah, there was somebody out there a couple months ago that was on the news talking about the lights. And I was like, yeah, that was me. He goes, that was you? I go, yeah. I go, I'm working on this theory that these lights and these things in the sky has something to do with the petroglyphs out here. I'm kind of making that connection. Uh-oh. 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 When I said that, ooh, oh my God, it touched the nerve. He shut up. He clammed up, didn't want to talk about it no more. That was it. He was ready to go home. And here I wanted to find out, look, dude, okay, so I wanted to, my next question was to him, why am I seeing him all the time? I wanted to probe his mind. I wanted to get some answers from him. Obviously, he knew what was going on here. Obviously, he understood the petroglyphs. Obviously, it's not a legend, myth, or storytelling. It's true. So now I want you to tell me, why am I seeing them in the sky? Why? Why am I seeing so many of them in the sky ever since I was a kid? Why? I want some answers, dude. He didn't let me get that far. He knew. He was like, uh-oh. Because he knew it was kind of like taboo. It was like prophecy. Someone's actually making the connections with this. And the history is telling us, look, that's not good. It's taboo. It's a taboo subject. We're not meant to know about these things in the sky. So he shut up, stopped talking to me. We said our goodbyes, got in his car, took off. I tried calling him to get back on the mountain with me again. Nope, no, sir. Not talking to me no more. He knew I was right, dude. He knew that was some crazy stuff. Nope, that was it. No. I'm not going back on the mountain with you, buddy boy. So, back to my point. When you're talking to some of these Native Americans, the people that don't, the natives who don't want to talk about it are the ones that you really want to talk to because they know what's up. So, what happened? Here's the thing. Here's what the Native Americans told Charles. All right, and all of this is on my website. All of this is tucked away in the Phoenix Library. Like I said, this is not, I'm not making this up. All right, this is not hearsay. This is stuff that was written by a very well-known park official who is very respected in his field from the Native Americans when he first lived here in Phoenix, Arizona, and started taking care of South Mountain. Wrote in his journals. Now, why would a very respected why would a very respected city park official write this type of information if it wasn't true? And this is what he writes. He says, when the Hohokam first arrived here in Phoenix, first arrived in this valley, they didn't know how to live. Now, remember how I told you in the beginning how I followed the lights to the mountain? I think that's how the Native Americans got to this mountain, is they followed these lights to this mountain. Okay, like Moses, and he's following the lights everywhere. That's basically what's going on. You know, this pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. You know, all that crazy stuff. I think that's what happened. They followed out of Mexico. They followed the lights to this area, to this valley, to this sacred mountain, formerly known Mount Sapoa, now known South Mountain. And so when they got here, they said that they didn't know how to live. So he says that the lizard people came up out of the sand world, came down from the heavens, and they taught these people how to live. They taught them the secret incantations, the secret knowledge that man was not meant to understand. In return, they worshiped these beings as gods. This went on for 1,000 years. Sacrifice, tribal men from all the nations, all kinds of tribes used to gather here in the Valley of the Sun at South Mountain. And Charles writes in his journals, he says, there was like trade going on. There was food and trade and the watching the spirits, and markets or whatever you want to call it. And he says a handful of gold for a handful of corn, right? And so, all these idols that we're digging up out there in Mexico, all these gold idols and things like that. Well, that's what was going on here in Phoenix. It's the exact same stuff. I found the altars, the sacrificing altars, many of these. Pyramids. There's man-made pyramids out there on South Mountain. I think that one hill on Holbrook Trail, I think that pyramid, that hill, is a man-made pyramid, man-made hill, man-made dirt pile, whatever, pyramid. And yes, there's a tomb inside there, right? We'll get into that here in a minute. So this was going on for 1,000 years. They were masters of the canal systems. They were able to harness this water through the valley. And as a matter of fact, the city officials today, we still use some of these Hohokam canal systems. They're just more deeper and full with concrete, but it's the same grid. We're using the same grid canal systems as the Hohokams did. They were the first ones to do it. So we're just using what they did. We just advanced it a little bit more. We made it better to hold more water. It was a tropical-like landscape here. Tons of water, tons of grass, tons of trees. Beautiful landscape. Sacrificing on the equinox and the solstice to make sure things were in order. Make sure the sun moved in order across the sky. Make sure the gods were happy. Until one day, for reasons unknown, the sacrificing stopped. And when that stopped, that's when things started to dry up in this valley. That's when the plants started to die. That's when the water started to stop flowing. Everything was dry and desolate. Everything was turning to dirt. Everything was dried up, starting to dry up. And the tribal men asked their leaders, why did we stop the sacrifice? Look, we've upset the gods. We don't see them anymore. Something's going on. We have no water. Everything's drying up. Our people are dying of thirst, and there's no animals. There's nothing to hunt anymore. Why? Why did you stop this sacrifice? Everything is drying up. And then one day, like we said before, some say that a meteor came down. Others say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. Now, I'm thinking in all the descriptions and the carvings on South Mountain, depictions, the carvings, the prehistoric photographs of what's going on here in this valley, is these lights, these phoenix lights, these feathered serpents. Yes, Quetzalcoatl is alive and well and flying around Phoenix, Arizona. I've seen and filmed him many times. Petroglyphs of him on the rocks in Phoenix, Arizona, yes. It's not a legend. Quetzalcoatl was real. The flying serpent, the orbs, the lights, the diamonds, all these crazy things we see in the skies today came down and took these people away. Picked them up in the sky, carried them up in the heavens, never to return. Now, there were people that were witnessing this type of catastrophe. Can't see it. They were, I was witnessing this, and they were afraid. They were afraid in the hidden caves. They saw what was going on. When it was all over with, the people that survived, they came to their leaders and they said, "Look what you did. This was totally wrong. Why did you stop the sacrifice? Look what happened." And the tribal leaders knew that it was wrong of what they did. And so they committed suicide on the sacrificing tables. They said they cut their own hearts out on the sacrificing tables. The surviving people of this knew that was it. They were like, "Nope, I'm not staying here no more." They cursed this valley of the sun. They vowed that if anybody was they said that if anybody was going to live in this valley, then eventually they would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. So they packed up all their gold idols, they packed up all their gold, and they buried them in South Mountain in tombs. And Charles Holbrook writes, he says, the gold was as tall as the highest saguaro cactus and as round as the sun. That's a lot of gold. And they bury it in South Mountain. Look at my website. You can see at least one tomb that I published up there, that I posted. You can see one of the tombs there that is supposedly guarding this gold. In my book, I talk about these tombs on South Mountain. Yes, there are tombs on South Mountain full of gold. And that's one of the reasons why, after Charles Holbrook died, because he told everybody about this. He handed out little brochures, man. He told people about the gold. He told people about, the Mayans being here. The spirits of the earth and sky. Does it say spaceships? No. He says spirits of the earth and sky. And so when he died, all this information was covered up, buried, put in the Phoenix Library for 80 years. Not talked about. Even to this day, the archaeologists do not talk about this. And what did they do? They made South Mountain a government park. Why? Why would you do that? Why don't you make the Superstitions a government park? Why don't you make A Mountain the government park? Why don't you make North Mountain a government park? Why don't you make the White Tank Mountains a government park? No. Why pick on South Mountain? Why did you make South Mountain a government park? A government mountain? Because that's the only way to keep people away from the truth, away from digging up these tombs on South Mountain. Because if you do, you go in there and you start digging up stuff, you're going to jail, man. You're given a big fine. You're going to prison, man. You can't do that. That's the only conclusion. That's the only logical explanation on why they would even make South Mountain a government park, is because they don't want people there bringing back the truth. Coming down with gold idols, coming down with could be giants, evidence of giants. Yes, I've discovered evidence of giants on South Mountain. And what about these tombs, man? Could they hold some kind of evidence of the giants? Could they hold some kind of evidence of who knows what's up in there, right? And they want people to stay away from that. They want you to stay on the trails. You go off the trails, you're going to get in trouble. But that's where the history is. You have to go off the trails to understand the history. It's not just, it's our history, people. It's where we come from. And so they're covering all that up. They don't want you to know about it. So back to my story, back to what happened here. So they vowed never to live in this Valley of the Sun again. And so they gathered up all their gold, they buried it in the mountains, and they went back to their homeland, back to Mexico. And for 400 years, nobody lived in this Valley of the Sun. There were tribal people living on the outskirts of the valley. They saw the phoenix lights. They saw the feathered serpent. They saw these orbs. They saw these things in the sky, and they were afraid. And rightly they should be, because they knew that what happened to their tribal people earlier before. They knew that their ancestors got taken away by these things in the sky. They knew it was a scary thing, so they stayed away from this valley, man. They didn't live in this valley. That's when Jack Swelling came up over the White Tank Mountains on the west side of Arizona, on the west side of Phoenix. Jack Swelling came over and his tribal people, and he looked down and he saw all the canal systems, and he saw the whole people's, villages, and I mean, because, the archaeologists saying they walked away. They went to another place, right? Well, even when you and I move, we take our belongings with us, don't you think? But yet these people didn't. They left all their valuables behind and simply disappeared. So when Jack Swelling came over the mountains and looked down at the Valley of the Sun and saw the evidence of the canals and saw the farmland there and saw the evidence of the whole people there, he was like, dude, what a great place to start a city. What a great place to start farming. Because look, the people who lived here before, they've already made a canal grid for us. I mean, why did somebody leave this valley, right? Native Americans were trying to tell them, you know, this land is cursed. You don't want to live here. And Swelling is like, what are you talking about? Look at this land. Look at that's farmland down there. There's canal systems we can reuse. We can build a city from the formal civilizations. We can rebuild this town from the formal civilization. They first started their town in the east side. They called it Mesa Verde. From there, it went on to Phoenix. Phoenix, the fiery bird that rose out from the ashes of the formal civilization. Now, they don't tell you about this formal civilization, do they? They don't tell you about those people. They don't tell you about the giants over here. They don't talk about how these things, you know, came down out of the sky and how this is biblical stuff that we're dealing with here. And they don't tell you about all that. They don't tell you about, you know, the gold up there on South Mountain. And so when Charles was up there, protecting South Mountain. They even made a lookout point in his name. He had a place up there high up on this hill, and they called it Charles Lookout, because he was looking for people looking for the gold, because all that stuff was still fresh in his mind. I mean, it didn't help that Charles was telling people there's tombs up there. That didn't help, you know. I mean, in a way, he kind of screwed himself up on that in that caper. You know, he should have kept that to himself, but no, he was excited, and he's telling people, look, there's tombs, there's gold tombs, the mines were here, you know. So what did that do? That got people interested in trying to look for that gold, and that's one of the reasons why they buried this story up, because they don't want that reoccurring again. You know, they don't want you and me going up there and digging up that gold anymore, so they made it a government park, you know, and they buried the story and tried to keep it away until little old me discovered it in that file. You know, and now I'm bringing this information to you. Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's gold up there. There's tombs up there, right? And you know what? So that went on. And then remember the Spanish conquistadors? Remember those people? How they were looking for the 7 cities of Cibola? As a matter of fact, that's what Charles Holbrook writes. That's what he calls in his little journal, in his little brochure that he handed out to people. The brochure that you can find on my website. That's real stuff, man. And what does he say? What does he name it? He calls it the Lost City of Cibola. Uh-oh. The Lost City of Gold. And that's what some of these Spanish conquistadors were looking for back in the day. They were looking for those 7 cities of gold. And they figured that Phoenix, Arizona was one of those lost cities. Now, to this day, the archaeologist doesn't believe that the Spanish even came this far. Look at my book, okay? I found evidence that the Spanish was here, okay? I found their coins. I found 400-year-old coins up there on South Mountain. You can read the story in my book on what happened in that area, on how there was like a little battle going on between the Spanish and the Native Americans at that time. Read it in my book. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. So the archaeologist doesn't believe that the Spanish was here, but yet me and my crew, we discovered evidence that the Spanish was here, and Charles Holbrook talks about the Spanish being here. He knew that they were here. There's a carving over there on the east side of South Mountain from the first Spanish conquistador. That's in my book also, and on my website, I believe. So yeah, he knew the Spanish was here. We discovered evidence that the Spanish was here. Archaeologist doesn't want to believe that because he's trying to persuade you from looking for the gold on South Mountain. Now, I think we should dig up at least one tomb. Okay? It's because it's history. It's our history. I don't think this information needs to be buried anymore. We need to understand where we come from. We need to understand what these lights really are. We need to understand why we are seeing UFOs in the skies today. What are these things? Yes, the government's already admitted all these things are real. Okay, let's go a step further, dude. Let's talk about the history. That means you need to come out and tell us about these things because you know about it. You know the history. If I can go out there and find all this stuff, then anybody can, right? And they don't want you to do that. They're trying to persuade you from doing that. That's why you won't see any news coverage of UFOs in Phoenix, Arizona anymore. It was a big thing when I was doing it and some other sky watchers were doing it, right? Until my book came out. Until my discoveries came out. And then they kind of shut all that down. They don't talk to me no more. They don't talk to the other sky watchers no more. I mean, the only person that they used to talk to, you know, is that one lady, I forget her name right now, doing that, that Phoenix Lights movie thing in Harkins Theater, and which she hasn't done in 2 years, thank God. Shut that down, because that was false information in the first place. But yeah, they don't talk about it. They do not talk about UFOs anymore in Phoenix, right? What happened? I think it's because of me, because I discovered all that stuff on South Mountain. And for 80 years, they've been trying to cover this up. They buried it. They buried Charles Holbrook. They buried his information. They tried their hardest to keep it hush-hush. Made it a government park. Blew up petroglyphs around the area. And that's what the CCC was doing back in the Depression, the Civil Conservation Corps. Back in the Depression, they came in and there was 200 people that lived on South Mountain right before the war, right before World War II. And they built picnic areas, they built ramadas and swing sets and trails, and they did mining up there. I believe they pulled like $60,000 worth of gold and silver from South Mountain, and to this day you can still find the mines up there. You can see on my Facebook page, I just posted something where we're exploring a bunch of mines up there from the CCC. And they blew up petroglyphs. They destroyed petroglyphs. Why? They're blowing up these rocks with the glyphs, but they're leaving those other rocks alone. Why? Because those rocks, those petroglyphs, are photographs of what took place here. And they wanted to make this a family park, right? And so having a picnic area next to a rock depicting demonic creatures and sacrifice isn't very appealing to the kiddos and to family members. So they destroyed all those petroglyphs. In doing so, they destroyed the history. They destroyed that photograph of what happened in that area. They're covering it up. They don't want you to know about this. All this is from years of research on South Mountain, sky watching, hiking that mountain for many, many, many years, discovering all these facts, all this evidence, talking to a Native American shaman who took me up there and taught me the petroglyphs, investigating the history of Phoenix, Arizona, uncovering Jack Swelling, uncovering the Mayans that were here, uncovering the tombs that were here, uncovering the sacrificing altars. You're not going to hear about any of this stuff. They don't talk about this stuff no more, but the evidence is there. I brought all this information down from the mountain. I'm bringing you the facts. I'm bringing you this information. And I think we need to open up at least one tomb. I think the ASU students, the archaeologists, ASU students in ASU College, need to get a team together and go down there and at least open up one tomb. Because that's part of the, I say one, right? I don't say we need to open up all of them. Do I say that? No, I think we need to open up at least one. Because part of this legend, part of the story, is that they buried the gold there because the Mayans are supposed to return and claim the gold. And they say that the Phoenix Lights, these creatures, are actually guarding these tombs. So if it's true, right? So I think we need to leave most of them alone, but at least one. Come on now. let's open up one just for a curiosity, just to understand where we come from a little better, just to open up that can of worms. Look, man, the evidence is there. I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt. Look at the proof that I've discovered here. Look at the photographs. Decide for yourselves. I've taken so many people up to that tomb, and they're all agreeing with me. Yeah, there's something buried here. Of course there is, man. That's a tomb, right? All this stuff is true. All this stuff that Charles Holbrook wrote is true. I was up there on South Mountain for a year, and I'm doing radio shows. I'm doing cable shows, right? I'm doing news articles, and I'm talking about all this stuff. But yet I'm not seeing anything else to back me up, right? For a year, I discovered the tombs. I discovered the altars. I discovered the story about all this stuff, you know? Until I went to the Phoenix Library, and actually, I was investigating the CCC. I wanted more information on the Civil Conservation Corps. And when I did, I opened up that folder, and there's that Charles Holbrook and his writings and his little brochure, which you can find on my website, that talks about South Mountain, the city of gold, the lost city of Cibola, Mount Cibola, all of that. Dude, boom, hit me in the face, dude. I'm like, dude, what? That's it, dude. I knew I was right from the get-go. Because, I mean, I've been an amateur archaeologist way before, for 30 years. Way before I was a ufologist. So I love history. I love archaeology. I love all that stuff. And when I connected the two, when I put them both together, the Phoenix Lights and the petroglyphs together, it all made sense. And it did. All this information that I dug up explains what these Phoenix Lights are. And does it talk about these things being from another world? No. People are looking for things in outer space when they should be realizing that these things are from inner space, right? This is their planet too. This is their world. They've been here a lot longer than we have. The world, the Earth, will tell you, these Phoenix Lights, man, these UFOs, that's nothing new, dude. I've been dealing with these things way before I've been dealing with mankind. And it's true. They're not from Mars. They're not from Alpha Centauri. They're from planet Earth, man. I'm telling you that. These things are from our home planet. This is their world also. Okay. Woo! I could go on and go on and go on and go on. But look, man, I'm just telling you, what I discovered here. Because I was going down that same road everybody else was doing. A spaceship, whatever, the city of Phoenix, March 13th, 1997, right? I was as gullible as everybody else, until I looked into it. And then I didn't find any of the evidence of that. And I went down this path thinking spaceships, but the evidence was taking me somewhere else, man. The evidence was taking me down this journey, this long journey path into the evidence, the facts on something completely different than what everybody else was led to believe. And then, like I said before, when I came out with my book and I presented my findings to the news, oh boy, they shut that down, man. Now they don't talk about UFOs in Phoenix anymore. They don't talk about any of that stuff anymore. I've done plenty of cable shows, but as soon as my book came out and I proved all this, boom, that's it, man. Nope. This is a huge conspiracy here. It goes way back. I crossed my T's, I dotted my I's, I proved my facts. And I think there was a study out on this, I think on Facebook, where people were inclined to believe fiction more than fact. And that's sad. And that's what's going on here. People would rather believe in a hoax than look at what's really here. I never understood that. Why? Why would you want to believe in fiction when the evidence is pointing you right in the face of something else. But you don't want to look at that. You want to look at a hoax. You want to believe a hoax. You don't want to look at the evidence. You want to look at a hoax. Why? Why is that going on? I don't know. I won't get it. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to the announcements. Okay, what happened? I lost it. Oh, I lost it. I lost it. Okay, so Vulture City Paracon Part 2. It's coming up. It's coming up real fast. What is it? Next month, people. Get your tickets, man. I think there's only like a few tickets left. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. I'm going to be out there. Bring your books. Bring copies of your books. I'll be out there doing autographs. I'll be doing a lecture out there about the Phoenix Lights and UFOs. And first time ever in Vulture City in Wickenburg, Arizona, we're going to be doing a Sky Watch event. So come on out. Let's look for these UFOs. Let's go sky watching and look at all these people that are going to be here at this event. Vulture City Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2021. Come on out here. Look at all these great people. I'm covering up my mug. There I am, right there at the bottom right screen of the flyer. Come on out here. Contact J. Marie Yates. Great people. They'll hook you up with these tickets. I believe the VIP tickets are gone. So it's sold out. So get your tickets quick, man, because it's what? It's around the corner, people. It's coming fast, man. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great, great, great event. Bring your money because we're going to have all kinds of great vendors out there. We're going to do a ghost hunt together. And we're going to do a sky watch. So it's going to be so cool. Can't wait for this to happen next month. I was there at the first Paracon and did a lecture and I did a ghost hunt, and it was just great. And I met a lot of great people out there. They were so nice, and we had just had such a blast, such a great time. And come on out, man. Come on out to Wickenburg, Arizona. Let's do the Vulture City Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Come out. Let's do a meet and greet. Come out and say hi to me. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's do a ghost hunt. And let's do some sky watching together. It's going to be great. See you out there next month, people. Okay, the Phoenix Lights. Petroglyphs in the Sky. Landscape for the Spirits. True stories, myths, legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. This is a 15-year book in the making. All the stuff I just got done talking about is the proof right here, this book. Okay? Everything I just talked about, you can find all this information in the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. I do not make any money from this book. I never have. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's about bringing this facts to you. Not hearsay. It's not just what I'm saying. No, dude. This is stuff that's always been there. This is history. Okay? This is not just someone saying this. It's not just someone saying this. No. All this stuff is factual. All this stuff was backed up. All this stuff is what's really going on in Phoenix, Arizona. It's all the history of Phoenix, Arizona. It's the lost history of Phoenix that explains on what these Phoenix Lights are. Look at that. Look, even the cover. See that cover there? See that spread there? 1997 Phoenix Lights. Now, why was that carved over 1,000 years ago? Right? Because the Hohokam saw the lights before us. So, yeah. Find out what the Phoenix Lights really is. Find out the history of Phoenix, Arizona. The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. I do not make any money from this book. I told the publishers to give the portions of my money to the foster kids in Phoenix, Arizona, because I'm a foster kid myself. So, and if they are not, that's on them, because I don't talk to these people. I don't talk to the publishers anymore. They stopped talking to me over a year ago, and they don't tell me how the book sales are going. They don't tell me anything. So, but I know I'm not making any money off of this, and I told them to take this money and give it to the foster kids, and so that's all on them. So, not me. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, so I did have this other photograph. What's this? Oh, okay. I did have this other photograph. It talks about my ghost channel. Somehow it got deleted just now. Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check me out on YouTube. I do ghost investigations and we do seances and we have a great time there. We go to all over the place. So yeah, find me on YouTube, Haunted Encounter Adventures, also on Facebook. Okay, let's get on with this. All right, so these are petroglyphs located on the White Tank Mountains. Okay, this is west of Phoenix, Arizona. Matter of fact, this is where I took the UFO Hunter show on the History Channel. I took them up to take a look at this petroglyph here. Most of you who have seen that show on the History Channel will recognize this carving here. Let's bring up some of my arrows here. Okay, there's one. Okay, so let's look at this. All right, so when we look at the petroglyphs, we have to look at the whole landscape. Okay, not just the glyphs itself, but look at the background. Okay, see this here? Now behind here, over here in this area is a waterfall. Right now we can see this petroglyph carving here. Look at this. See, this is a waterfall. All right. Now look at this here. This is the canyon. Okay, right back here. I think I have another photograph coming up and it explains more detail on this. Okay, so this right here, this carving here is talking about back here. Okay, and I'll show you more on this next photograph. All right, so it's showing this, look at this flower looking UFO thing coming up out of this canyon, coming up out of here. And see the barbells? Look at the barbells. See that there? And it's coming out of the waterfall. There's a waterfall behind this rock. Further back on the trail, this is Waterfall Trail on White Tank Mountains, west of Phoenix, Arizona. And here we see these petroglyphs. Now it's telling us it's a depiction of a barbell coming up out of the valley, out from the waterfall, up into the sky. We have more of these squiggly lines here. We go up and we look more of the rock here. Look at this over here. Look at this. Now this is interesting. See that there? Now this is called a rod. Now this type of life form is relatively new to the information world. Give or take, I don't know, about 17 years maybe, 17, maybe 20 years new. A lot of people don't recognize these things yet. But these things are called rods. Okay, and the Native Americans, from what I understand, is they used to catch these rods and use them for healing. That's about as far as I got from that. But here on the White Tank Mountains in Phoenix, Arizona, we see a depiction of a rod. And there are rods carved on South Mountain also. Now here we have this petroglyph here. See these orbs? They're all connected together like a snake, right? Like a worm. Here we have what some say would be a lizard person. There's the tail. And we all know about that tail from my last shows. Okay? And actually, I think, this is actually a fork. Okay? So what we're looking at here is two UFOs connected together. Okay? And the interpretations on these glyphs is they're supposed to be lizard people, right? Because it's got the tail. But in fact, this right here is like a fork. And I believe I got a petroglyph photograph coming up later on in the show here pretty soon. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. That these actually, because this is supposed to be the arms, right? There's the head, right? And then we have the body, and then we have the legs, right? Then we have the tail. But there's so many glyphs out there depicting just this, and I call it a fork, all right, with the tail. And that tail, we all know, is the tail. It's not really a tail, but it's a line for picking things up into the sky, like humans and dogs and animals and things like that. Here we have this type of snake. Look at that there. Type of energy symbol, if you will. It could also represent the mountain peaks in the background. You see that? Because it's oriented. This rock is facing, that landscape is facing the waterfall. So these little lines up in here could be the hills behind this rock, right? Here we go again. Look at that. Look at that there. See? See these here? Those are the hills in the background. These are the mountain peaks. All these right here. See that? Those are mountains. That's a mountain layout. And see, it's telling us, look. See the orbs? And it's coming out of the mountain. See that there? Look at this orb here, right? With the dot. And I think my past shows, I talked about that dot in the middle of this orb. Of this orb here. See that? And the legs. It's not the sun. Because the sun shouldn't have a dot, right? And look, if it is the sun, how come the rays aren't coming up around it, right? There's only like these legs here. So that's an anthropomorph. That is an orb. That is a UFO. These are UFOs here. These are orbs that we see in the skies every day. And they're coming out of the mountains. They're coming out of that energy source. Coming out of the mountains. Here we go again. Look at this. Look. See this here? See the peaks? See the mountains? Now look. The orb is inside the mountain. Get it? This is how we understand the petroglyphs. They're telling us, look, this creature, this orb, is inside these mountain peaks. See that? Just like over here. Let me get there. Whoop, not that one. Just like here. Let me make this a little short. See that? We can get a better look at it here. So this rock, this whole panel, is oriented towards these hills back here. See the pyramids? See that? See the hill? See the pyramid hill? See that? And it goes on. It goes on. It goes down. And then there's another hill there, another hill, and it keeps going. Just like what this right here is showing. Okay? And then here, this right here, this line here, is actually talking about there. Let me get this other picture out. And I'll show you what I mean. It should be the next one. Yeah, here we go. See what I'm talking about here? Look at the yellow line. See that? You see that yellow line? It goes down. So this right here, this is what it's talking about. This here. Okay, and then it goes behind this boulder, right? And then this line here goes down, and then it connects. It connects right about here, behind this boulder. And that's what this is depicting. That's what this right here is showing. Understand now? So this right here, see that there? Boop, and it goes down. That's this line here. It's this boulder. It goes down, and then it merges with this one over here. And that's exactly what this is talking about. Then we have the waterfall, which is over here. It's behind this boulder. It's a big waterfall, and there's frogs in there. And they say if you lick those frogs, you can hallucinate. Yep. And so yeah, this is the waterfall, and then there's the orbs, the barbells that's coming out of the waterfall. See? So when we look at the petroglyphs, we have to look at the whole landscape, not just the carvings itself, but the whole landscape, because the artist is including the landscape in with the art. Here's another depiction of a barbell. This is on South Mountain. This is on Holbrook Trail. And we can see the two orbs. And it's connected with a line, right? And now look at this. See that? It's got like this tail. We all know what that tail is used for. It's not a string. These aren't balloons, right? They're two barbells. They're two orbs connected together. And this line here, I think when they do that, I think they're like absorbing each other's energy, right? They're connecting together. And there's so many barbells, formations, carvings up on South Mountain. It's just crazy. So yeah, tons of barbells carved on South Mountain, because that's the type of UFO entity that is mostly seen here in Phoenix. Okay, here we go. So this is cool. Look at this. I found this panel on South Mountain, Box Canyon. Those of you who are looking for these petroglyphs on South Mountain, who's following me on South Mountain, you can find this glyph on Box Canyon. It's a very neat hike, very cool hike. There's tons of petroglyphs to explore. It's a very nice nature hike. Box Canyon is a very neat hike. I suggest that you go check it out. Okay, so first of all, let's look at this here. Let's look at what it's carved on. Now this is interesting. Look at this block, okay? Let's examine this block here. You see this here? You see this? Okay? It goes further down, but look at this. Does that look fishy to you? Sure the hell does to me. And then look at the top here. Okay, so there's another block, right? And you see this here? This is like some kind of like, I don't know. I want to, in modern day, we would call it concrete. This is some kind of concoction that the Hohokam people were able to create and make it stick, right? So this is some kind of concrete. So actually, this is a door. Look at this. This is a door. Okay, if we remove this block, there's probably a tomb inside here. Look at this. You see the evidence here? Look at what I'm pointing at. Look at all this. See this? This block needs to come out. This is not normal. Okay? This is cut and shaved and glued in. And look at the concrete there. See that? That's what I'm talking about. Some of it has eroded away, hasn't lasted, and that's why we get this huge gap. But this right here has, right? And some of this here. Okay? So there's something behind here. There is something behind this block. Box Canyon, people, up on the top. Check it out. Now let's look at the glyph here. Now, remember the barbells I just talked about? Okay? So here's an orb. Let's examine this. Here's the orb. Here's the line. Okay? Here's another orb. See that? So we have this barbell, and it's growing these arms. It's anthropomorphing. It's shape-shifting, people. And then look at this. See that? And then its legs. Now, it doesn't have a tail, but it is the size of a giant, right? Nephilim? Is this a Nephilim? Could be. And we know, look, see, we just talked about, we just showed the barbell petroglyph. And that last petroglyph was located on Holbrook Trail. This one's on Box Canyon. We have the orb, the orbs that we see today. Have the line. We have another orb there, making a barbell. Now he's growing arms, right? He's shape-shifting into the likeness of a man. Get it? He's anthropomorphing. He's shape-shifting. And this one's a giant. This one's big. Look at his legs. And the only thing I can think of on that would be a Nephilim. And this is how these things change and morph. I mean, these orbs that we see today in the sky, that's just the beginning. There's more to those orbs. Pretty soon, as time goes by, you're going to see these orbs in the sky connect together, join together, and start producing these arms, what look like arms, and what look like legs. You're going to see all this in the sky. It's going to happen before your eyes. That's what's going on here. They're shape-shifting. They're connecting together. They're morphing. They're anthropomorphing. They're connecting. They're moving slow. They're in control. They know what they're doing. They're not balloons. Just because you see that line there doesn't make it a string. Okay? We need to study what's really going on here. These things are alive. These are creatures. No, they're not from Alpha Centauri. They're not from another world. This is their planet also. They have always been here. And this carving is carved on a rock, on a carved out boulder, a block that needs to be removed. We've got to go in there, man. We got to see what that is behind that boulder. Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's only obvious. Come on now. You can see the block. you know there's something buried there. Oh, I just wish I could go in there and just remove that. You know, I would love to figure out what is behind that. Here we go again. This is what I'm talking about. Look at this here. When it talks about the giants. See that? Giants walked here on South Mountain, people, in the Valley of the Sun. Here's a prehistoric photograph. Look at that. And you can tell it's a giant. Look at how big his legs are, right? Compared to the deer that's over here. Right? Giants. So much evidence. In my past shows, I talk about the giants on South Mountain. I show the evidence. I show the proof. And here we can see a prehistoric photograph of one of those giants. Or a Nephilim, right? Okay. Okay, we got one more here. Okay, there's that fork that I was talking about. See that there? So, you know, it's like half of a lizard man, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? So here's that line, and then normally we'd have a circle on the belly, right? And then another circle for the head, and then the arms, right? But here we just have this fork. See that? It's like half of a lizard man, right? This is what I was saying earlier. So we have like two forks, and they're merging together. They're coming together. And here we have only one fork. And I'm telling you, this fork is scary. I've seen so many of these forks where it's carrying people up by their heads. They're taking people up into the sky by their heads. Now, the symbol for being alive is when their arms is up, is raised up. Okay? But when their arms are down, are going down, that's a symbol for death. All right? And so many of these petroglyphs carved on South Mountain depicts these forks picking up men by their heads with their arms down, symbolizing death. All right? So that's why I'm saying that these forks are scary. Now look, here we have a spiral. Okay? And what the spirals are symbols for doorways. Now this is actually on top of a huge boulder. A big, huge boulder. And I like to call it a stage. This is right off of 32nd Street and Baseline. Okay, where I found this at. And when you look at that valley, because it's a whole valley up in there, it's just a great spot. And when you look at that valley, you can see this huge rock face. I call it a stage. Okay, so I climbed up on that stage. It was huge. It was like, I mean, it was huge. Like, I don't know, 70 feet high. And when I got up on top, I found this glyph. This is where this glyph is located at. And it's got this fork here, and it's got the spiral symbol. So the spirals are doorways, right? And this one is what? It's going clockwise. So it's a doorway in, and it's ending down. You see that? It's ending down. So it's telling us that the doorway is that boulder. It's probably that, because there is a crack on the base of this huge boulder, this huge mountainside boulder. There is like this huge crack on the bottom of that. Now, when I was there at the face, I didn't see any spirals there. Matter of fact, there are no spirals. There are no carvings on this huge rock face at all. The only place where I found a rock art was on top of this boulder. This huge boulder, and with this huge crack on the bottom. It's interesting, though, I didn't see any spirals there at that crack. Now, normally the spirals would be at that crack, symbolizing the crack is the emergence point to the underworld. That's exactly what the spirals represent, and they're usually next to these cracks. But here, I didn't find one. I found the spirals on top of this huge boulder, okay, with the crack in it. And it's telling us that this is a doorway out, because the spirals are going clockwise, which is a doorway out. A spiral going counterclockwise is a doorway in. I'm sorry, excuse me. Clockwise is a doorway in, counterclockwise is a doorway out. And so yeah, it's telling us that this right here is a spiral, and it's going clockwise, so it's a doorway out. All right, so it's telling us that this fork here is coming out of this huge mountain, this huge boulder stage looking thing. We have another orb there. It's not quite a spiral, because we can see on how this right here, this line, this very faint line, let's blow this up. Let's look at this closer. We can see now look at this. See this? Now look. Here's the doorway. Here's the spiral doorway. Look. See how the line is coming out, right? And then we have this orb maybe looking thing, right? And then another line coming out from that orb and coming into this fork creature. See that? It's all connected. It's all connected together coming out of the spiral, all right? These right here are not spirals. Look, because we can tell. See how they're not connected together? We can tell these are connected. See? This is not connected. This is not a spiral. These are separate rings. See that? Separate rings. They are not connected for a spiral. These are not a symbol for doorway. What they are, you know, in my opinion, because I've studied the Phoenix Lights, I've seen them so many times up close. And look at the videos, right? You can see them pulsating. They're pulsating with plasma. They're pulsating with energy, right? And they're rippling. And a lot of times they have a dot in the middle. And out from that, they're kind of pulsating. And I believe that's exactly what this petroglyph is depicting here. This petroglyph is depicting what's now known as the Phoenix Lights. And it's pulsating. It's rippling. It's rippling plasma, or it's rippling energy. Right? And the only way to draw that is to draw a circle within a circle within a circle. It's because that's what's going on. That's what it's doing. It's going boop, 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 right? Flashing, boop, 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 right? Circle, big circle, large circle, bigger circle, right? Small circle, big circle, little circle, big circle, right? That's exactly what I believe that this is going on here. Is these are these UFO lights, and it's pulsating in the sky, while this scary looking fork that likes to take people and animals up into the sky is coming out of the doorway, And it's look at that, see? It's lined up, it's all connected, and it's connected to this scary looking fork. Pretty crazy, huh? Okay, so let's get on with this sighting. Let's get on with this UFO sighting before we have to go. Now, this is crazy. So, I forget where this sighting took place at, but this is great stuff. This is a great UFO sighting. Let's go ahead and back it up and push play on this. Let's take a look at this. Now, look at this. These things, look, see, another one just popped in. So first we had one light, then another light popped in, right? And look how they're moving together. Because these are street lights down here. Street lights. Now look at these lights. Look how they're moving. See that? Street lights, street lights, street lights, street lights, UFO lights. Look how they're moving. See that? Look how they're in their information together. This is a great sighting. Let's see if we can blow it up just a little bit more. Okay, and look. Is that another one? Is that another one? Look. See, that one just popped in there, see? So we got 4 of them. Maybe I should make it smaller. Here we go. See that? And then we got these 2 there. Look how they're moving. Look at that. Look. Look, that one just disappeared. No, that one just disappeared too. Oh, it came back. See? Isn't that exciting? How they just pop up in the sky and then they disappear? Okay, this is a replay of it. So look. See, that one just appeared in the sky. This is a replay. Moving across the sky. Okay, you're seeing the full video here, the full screen. This is great. Moving. And then it looks, obviously, look, it just disappeared. And then it came back. See that? And their information, they're staying together. These are not spaceships. These are living creatures, living entities. See that? Look at that. Oh, there's another one. Woo! See, I love it when they just pop up in the sky like that. Isn't that crazy? This is great stuff. Great video. Thank you, viewer, for sending this to me. And if you guys have any UFO videos that you want me to show, please send them to me, and let's talk about it. I love these UFO videos. Isn't that great? And look how that one just disappeared and it came back. Woo! I get excited when it comes to these UFO videos. It is just so great. It is so cool to see these things, and especially to witness them, firsthand. And so yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Heather. You're awesome. Thank you, Michael Beavers, for watching, and Steve, and everybody else that's watching. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you guys so much for following me. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Let's look at those UFOs real quick. Isn't that neat? Awesome. Great stuff.